Let's talk for a minute. I am excited for this one. So the series that I want to talk about today is the Prime series Reacher. I'm going to give this series a 7.5 out of 10. I had it at an 8 before, but I'm going to explain why I brought it down to 7.5. Reacher is based on the Jack Reacher series of books by author Lee Child. This series of books, which has sold collectively over 100 million copies, I'm taking this according to the New York Times, and right now there are 26 books in total in the series, with the 27th coming out in October of this year. It's a series that makes so much sense for Amazon, or for any streaming platform for that matter. Where did Amazon first have its success? Of course, with books and with Kindle. As we see with the Reacher series, already there are so many fans who love this series. It's a fun action series. You have the character of Jack Reacher, who's a former Army police officer and now is a drifter, and he goes from town to town. In the case of this season, it's Margrave, Georgia, and of course wherever Reacher goes, craziness ensues, and then he has to right the wrongs, and there's crazy action and fights. And the thing I like about this series is that it's a very straightforward action series. When you say straightforward, when you say simple, that is hard to do. Shows like that are very focused. When you just want to be entertained, a show like this can pull it off well. There's something very satisfying about that. It's a series that the story is broken down into its 8 episodes. A bit of a refresher on the Jack Reacher franchise. There was a movie in 2012 and then a sequel in 2016, Jack Reacher and Jack Reacher Never Go Back, starring Tom Cruise. One thing I want to say, I am a Tom Cruise fan. I like his action movies. I think they're very entertaining, but he's playing Jack Reacher here. I'm not super familiar with the books, but when I saw the movie back in 2012, the first one with Tom Cruise, I kind of looked into it. I was curious, and the Jack Reacher character is supposed to be a 6'5", 250-pound dude who is pretty much like the Hulk in human form. Tom Cruise, great actor, don't get me wrong, is 5'7". Cruise still made it entertaining. Actually, a great thing that we got out of that first movie from 2012 was that you had Tom Cruise playing this role, which he had fun with and did well with, and you had Christopher McQuarrie, who directed it and then started to work with Tom Cruise more frequently on the Mission Impossible franchise now. But let's still come back to Tom Cruise playing Jack Reacher. He's 5'7". The only way to make that even kind of convincing is to film Tom Cruise from a lower angle, or to do these extreme close-up shots. Why do that if you don't have to? We have seen now with this new series on Prime that you don't have to do that. In this series, they cast Alan Richardson to play Jack Reacher, and Alan Richardson is a 6'3" dude who is the Hulk in human form. Does a great job. You can see between the way Cruise played Reacher and the way Richardson played Reacher, the guy doesn't say much, has a bit of an attitude, doesn't trust people very much, and the rest is the action. It's a straightforward action show, and this first season is based off of the first book from Lee Childs called The Killing Floor. There are 26 books in the Jack Reacher series, with the 27th coming out October of 2022. Assuming this show is a success, they have material for quite a few seasons. So when I look at this show on Amazon, it makes a lot of sense. As it goes further along, they can maybe make the story and the production a little bit bigger in scale. Again, this makes sense compared to Lord of the Rings, The Ring of Power. I have nothing against Tolkien. I'm not trying to anger any Tolkien fans here, any Lord of the Ring fans, but why? Why do you spend the arm and a leg? All I'm just saying is you spend that kind of money, the kind of money to get the rights to make Tolkien movies or series, you better be adding subscribers to Amazon right away and at a very big scale to make that kind of investment worth it. But Reacher, it's a smaller scale production, but it already has the fan base from the books built in. Now I get that Tolkien, of course, has the books as well, but 27 books, 100 million copies already sold. You cannot compare the two at all. And I don't even know if that 100 million, if we're talking about the US, it wasn't clear actually if that 100 million is worldwide or US. This is what the New York Times article was saying. Now let's go over the pros and the cons of this series. The pros, putting Alan Richardson as the lead character. He looks the part. The supporting cast, what's really enjoyable, it's a straightforward action series, and I think the fan base from the books are going to be very happy with the way this series turned out, and I think it's going to make them hopeful and wanting more, because they can see now that the material that already exists is being adapted faithfully. Some of the cons for this series, these are things you've heard me say before. I'm a stickler on some of these things. If you're going to have a straightforward action series, it's not actually your hero that's that's important. It's your villain. I still think a good guy versus bad guy type of story is only as strong as the villain. But while I take off a few points for that, still Richardson as Reacher and the rest of the cast and the action definitely carry the series quite a bit. Aside from the villain, the visual effects at times were not great either. I get that the series is trying to first just test, does it work? Is there an interest? Does the audience like it? Just keep it a lot more simple as a production, but some of the effects just looked bad, and there was no real way around hiding that. Overall, though, this is really fun, really enjoyable series. I remember watching it, kind of went through it quickly. I'm also happy that Skydance is involved with making this series. Skydance is David Ellison's production company. This is the guy whose company is behind the Mission Impossible series, Star Trek. They are working with Apple TV Plus to develop action series for them. They're involved with Top Gun Maverick whenever this movie actually comes out. So there's a lot of exciting things that are going into this show. This is one I highly recommend if you want something fun and just kind of a straightforward action show. Definitely be sure to check it out. Thanks for listening.